Hi, I'm Rebecca with Conscious Accounting, and today I'm here with Kaitlin, owner of Manna Bakery. We're hanging out at Blush Tea and Coffee, and we're gonna learn more about Kaitlin and her business and talk about product costing and all sorts of fun stuff. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so tell me all about your business and how it started.
It kind of started in a roundabout way. A friend of mine who I used to work with in a kitchen way back, we were chatting and I was just telling him, oh, I'm thinking about getting back into like the culinary world. No like plans to start a business or anything. And he just calls me up one day and he's like, tomorrow you're going in and you're meeting with Josh from Bandit. And I'm like, okay, like I'm thinking I'm applying for a job. So I get like my resume ready and I'm like, going in, like I have a job interview and Josh is there and he's like, oh, I'm gonna have you talk with my wife, Sarah. So I'm talking with Sarah and she's like, actually, we're looking for a wholesale baker. So 3 months later, Manna made its first.
Wow. So they kind of made the decision for you that you were gonna be a business
Yeah,
owner.
they put the idea in my mind, yeah, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what was like the first product that you made?
I remember being really nervous. I remember the delivery, the menu at the time was like, I don't have any of those things on my menu anymore. But it was like a tart and some tea cakes and the scones. And I remember being there and the whole day I was like so nervous. I wanted to text them and be like, how's it going?
Did
like,
anyone buy
Did anyone complain? Like, it was very nerve-wracking for sure.
Wow, so how did it go?
Well, I assume, yeah.
Well, right?
Yeah, no, it's been great working with them and then expanding on. And
So you're not just at Bandit anymore.
no, I'm here at Blush and I'm at Pineapple Espresso, Tabella, Flatbread, Two Grow Coffee up in Dunedin. Kind of expanded all over for sure. Yeah, it's been great.
So when you first started, were you still like working somewhere else?
I didn't really know what I was going to do with my life. I call it my quarter life crisis. I was like, I don't really know what I'm going to do. And so I got a job at Starbucks and I was working there full time when I started Manna. When you're starting out as a business owner, especially wholesale, like you don't have a lot of money and there's so you need that full-time job or whatever you want to call it, yeah.
So how did the hours work?
So I would work like at Starbucks from like 2 to 10 and then I would work and bake overnight at Manna and then do all the deliveries and then do that all over again. And I did that for like almost 2 years working like that. Yeah, I look back and I'm like, I don't know how I did that. Like, I'm so tired now that I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I could not do that again.
That's amazing.
When you're in the moment, you don't really think about it. You just think like, this is something I have to do. This is something I have to get through.
Well, you're gonna be on our podcast a little later today, and I wanna ask so many more questions about all of that, and just hear more about how you knew when you could leave, because now you're full-time a business owner. Yeah, so I can't wait to dig into more of that soon. Yeah, but while I have you, I'm curious, I want to get a little nerdy about accounting, of course. So, like, how did you know when you needed an accountant?
Right away, I knew I needed one, but I couldn't afford one or like justify it yet. I mean, for the longest time, I was just Bandit and then it was Tabella. It was really hard to grow at first because when no one really knows who you are, they just kind of like write you off. So for a while, it was just like I was just me doing it, and then my dad would kind of help me a little bit. And then probably in like the second year, when it was like getting towards like tax season, I was like, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I reached out to Marty from Bridge and Bloom because they were doing my branding at the time. And I was like, do you know anybody? Please help me. And she's like, actually, I do. And so, yeah, the rest is history.
Oh, that's awesome. So what about, like, so you have all these baked goods. How many, do you have like a set number of how many you sell, or like?
No, it definitely like fluxes a lot. It just depends on the season. Like when COVID happened, I trimmed things down a lot because, you know, my on-hand cost, I didn't really know what was going to happen, and so I was like, I can't have a lot of inventory right now. But really, it'll just kind of depend on my mood. Like sometimes I'm like really feeling an ingredient, and you'll see it like a million times on my menu. People are probably like, why does she have like tahini like 5 different times? But so it just kind of like changes. But no matter what's on my menu, I try and use an ingredient more than once. So like right now, there's a lot of apple because when I'm buying like fresh produce, it has a shelf life, and so to only have it limited to one thing doesn't really make sense for costing reasons.
Right. So speaking of costing, do you have any advice for a business owner who's just starting out and they're gonna sell any sort of product, like where to begin with figuring out?
So for like baking, weigh out all your recipes. Like if you're measuring in cups, don't do that. Honestly, like weigh that stuff out. It will help you tremendously. Just not even with costing, but if you're scaling, you know, if you're growing and you're scaling, and you know, it's so much easier to weigh something than to like measure out 20 cups of something. Like that just doesn't make any sense. So if you weigh it all out, then it's so much easier, and you can calculate your cost of goods and use that as a baseline to just kind of, when you add on all that other stuff that goes into calculating, like what am I going to sell this at, like because how much does it actually cost me? Cost of goods is a good place to start, I would say.
And then do you just kind of charge a little more than that?
It's difficult. There's no like set, like I would say, rule book for it. I mean, some people will just tack on an arbitrary percentage and just hope that that covers everything. Keeping things as streamlined as possible. Like, you know, for wholesale, it's pretty simple for me with packaging because I don't package for like wholesale. It's like in a coffee shop, so I don't have to like have things like labeled and like packaged, so I can keep it simple in that regard. There's no like, I would say, rule book, but I like to kind of have a little bit more of an idea, so I kind of get in there and divide things down and figure out labor, and that's a hard one, and like rent and everything, really.
Well, this has been so helpful. I feel like you've given us a lot of tips and kind of secrets about what it's like to own a business. I'm sure everybody really just wants to see what you make. So can you show us a couple of things?
Sure. Blush has a few things on hand I can show.
Oh, perfect. Let's go look. Thank you so much for joining today. It was so fun learning all about Kaitlin and her company, Manna Bakery. Be sure to tune in next week where we will learn about another local client and their business.